Listen, they say inflation is about the economy. They say inflation is caused by supply and demand. Yeah, okay. I don't think so. Dave Ramsey and likes of baby boomers can take their financial advice and stick it where the sun don't shine. You see, they like to tell younger generations how they did it, but never mention how the money, or should I say currency, is created, which ultimately leads to inflation. What younger generations are starting to wake up and realize is that the entire system is a scam, yes, a Ponzi scheme. You see, inflation in the United States is often discussed in numbers, percentages, price indexes, and wage gaps. But beneath the data lies something more revealing, a generational shift in mindset. For millennials and Gen Z, inflation is not just an economic condition. It is a psychological force reshaping how they think about money, success, and the future. At the core of this shift is a growing sense of realism. Many young adults feel that the traditional economic playbook no longer works as promised. The idea that hard work pursuing higher education naturally leads to financial stability has weakened under the pressure of rising costs and stagnant purchasing power. Oh, yes, let's not forget college, another scam that we'll cover in another video. This has given rise to what might be called the squeeze realist individuals who are financially aware, cautious, and increasingly skeptical of long-standing systems. They are not disengaged, but they are no longer blindly optimistic. All of this is a broader skepticism toward the system itself. Many young people question whether the economic structure is designed to support their success. The system skeptic mindset does not always lead to disengagement, but it does encourage alternative thinking, entrepreneurship, remote work, and non-traditional career paths. Stability is no longer assumed. It must be created independently. Perhaps the most profound shift, however, is in how value is defined. For previous generations, success was often measured in tangible milestones: home ownership, career advancement, and financial accumulation. In the end, inflation is doing more than straining wallets. It is reshaping identities. Millennials and Gen Z are not simply reacting to economic pressure, they are rewriting the rules of how to live within it. Their response is complex: part caution, part resilience, part rebellion. And in that complexity lies a new blueprint for navigating an uncertain economic future. That leads me to the illusion of money, a system designed to keep you running. What if the game was never meant to be won? What if the rising cost of everything, housing, food, energy, even time itself, isn't just bad luck or poor policy, but a feature of a system designed to keep you moving, consuming, and chasing, but never quite arriving? Because when you step back, the pattern starts to look less like coincidence and more like design. But I read a book once, and now I know better. It started on an island, not Gilligan's Island, and no, not the one that housed PDF files. Enter Jekyll Island, where a group of powerful dudes met in secret like wealthy, powerful people do. We'll call them the price manipulators. They were like, what if we make a system so confusing no one knows who's in charge? And boom, the creature was born. Enter the Federal Reserve, a government institution that isn't actually federal and has no reserves. Totally normal. Nothing suspicious here. Right? Right? It's not an accident that everything costs more and wages haven't kept up. Once upon a time, a group of the richest bankers and politicians in America took a secret vacation to Jekyll Island. Because when you're designing the nation's money system, you obviously do it in secret with bankers at a private resort. Not Congress, not the public, not the Constitution, just powerful, elite, wealthy men and cigars. So how does the Federal Reserve create money? Simple. It buys government debt with money that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. Poof, a few dollars are printed or typed on a computer screen. And what do you know? Every dollar comes with interest attached, which means there is always more debt than money. Money as we know it today isn't backed by anything tangible. No gold, no intrinsic value, just belief. A shared agreement enforced by institutions powerful enough to make that belief feel like reality. And yet, that same system has the ability to create more of it, instantly, digitally, endlessly, out of thin air. But here's the catch. When money is created, it doesn't enter the system evenly. It flows somewhere first, into assets, into markets, into the hands of those closest to its creation. And by the time it reaches everyone else, prices have already risen. So while it looks like money is being printed, what's really happening is something else. Value is being transferred, quietly, systematically, invisibly, from those who earn to those who own. And if you weren't early, if you didn't already have assets, leverage, or proximity to capital, you're not riding the wave. You're chasing it. Every year, it gets a little harder. Homes drift further out of reach. Savings lose purchasing power. Debt becomes more necessary just to maintain a normal life. And still, the message stays the same. Work harder. Save more. Be patient. But patience in a system like this can feel like standing still on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up. This is where the doubt creeps in. Because if the system requires constant expansion, more debt, more consumption, more growth just to sustain itself, then what happens if it stops? What happens if people opt out, slow down, or simply can't keep up anymore? The uncomfortable possibility is this. The system doesn't just reward participation, it depends on it. New borrowers, new workers, new participants entering the game, taking on debt, fueling demand, keeping the machine moving forward. From the outside, it starts to resemble something familiar. Not a textbook definition, but close enough to raise eyebrows. A structure where those who enter earlier benefit more, and those who enter later carry more weight. Call it what you want, but the feeling is hard to ignore. And that feeling is spreading especially among younger generations who are stepping into the system at its most expensive point. They're not imagining things when they say it feels different. Because it is. They're playing the same game, just at a much higher cost of entry. So they adapt, they question, they look for exits, loopholes, alternative paths, anything that feels less controlled, less predictable, less engineered. Because deep down, there's a growing suspicion. Maybe the goal was never stability. Maybe the goal was continuity. Keep the system going. Keep people participating. Keep the wheel spinning. And as long as it spins, it works. Just not equally for everyone. You ever notice shrinkflation? That's not cost saving. That's mind control. Same box, same price, less food. The controllers of the system want us to doubt reality. You're standing there like, I swear this cereal box used to feed a family of 4. Now it feeds one emotionally unstable adult. So what's the secret? Simple. Inflation is just a hidden tax. In 1913, $1 could buy a nice suit. Today, it buys a Starbucks napkin. Even in the 1970s, if you found a quarter on the ground, you could pick it up and actually buy something with it. And this is what we call progress. Gas prices change every 12 minutes, it seems. That's not only market forces. They don't even explain it anymore. But the obviously fake news is like, inflation is cooling. Cooling where? Because my wallet is still on fire. They show a chart and say, see, it's going down. Meanwhile, eggs are like luxury protein. Here's my biggest theory. Inflation is fake math. It's a magic trick. First, the Fed lowers interest rates. The people are happy. Everyone is like, wow, free money. Let's buy houses and stocks and jet skis. Then the Fed raises rates. Then everyone is shook and question, why is everything going to hell? The banks and corporations then want the government to bail them out. And of course, the government bails out the banks and not the average person. You and I have to act as responsible adults with our finances. And if we don't, we hear it from the Dave Ramseys of the world. But the big institutions of society could go on spending sprees, make horrible investments, and in the end, are bailed out by the taxpayer. Us, the working poor, the boomer media, so-called economists will say, stop buying lattes and you'll be okay. Oh yeah? So if I skip coffee for 30 years, I can afford the American dream? That kind of thinking has me wondering if inflation is just a prank that went too far. These power brokers think, what if we raise everything by 10%? And then in a few months, do it again. And then it's as if now nobody knows how to undo it, but everyone except them suffers. They truly are that diabolically evil to have a system of sleight of hand of this magnitude. And they're like, just call it economics. One day they'll announce inflation is over and prices will still be high. They'll be like, this is the new normal. Really, that's what villains say in movies. In a world where money, or should I say currency, can be created instantly, digitally, and endlessly, you must stop taking financial advice from the traditional playbook. Realize that we were all duped into this Babylon money scam of a system that operates just like a pyramid scheme, because that's what it is. In my opinion, the crypto market was created as an extension of this scam system. Realize that you live in a world of abundance, and the scarcity you are facing, although very real, is manufactured by the owners of this system. If everything works as a legal Ponzi scheme in finance, well, it's time to play a different game. Maybe going back to the barter system. Whatever it may be, it's time to play by new rules of money.